about here. All right, let's get into this AJ Scott story. So jury selection is starting in this AJ Scott trial. I wanted to do a little bit of a rewind. We're actually going to hear from AJ himself and when he testified in his first trial, which ended in a mistrial because the defense withheld information from the prosecution, and this man most likely would have been in jail already, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far. But we still have a trial coming up. Jury selection starts. If you don't know who AJ Scott is, he's the former Georgia State Trooper who was going 40 plus miles over the steep speed limit. I think they said 30 plus to be exact, over the speed limit one night. There were 4 teens in the car. AJ Scott wasn't paying attention. He was going too fast on his way to do whatever he was doing. He T-bones the teens. 2 of the teens in the car died, and the other two were severely injured. He was supposed to go on trial over a decade ago, ended in a mistrial. Mistrial ended because of what I just previously stated, and then Nick goes on to live his life while awaiting to get his new trial. Right during that time, AJ Scott becomes the mayor of Buchanan. What? Yes, he was voted in as the mayor of the city. He's since had incidents in the city where he was drunk and then he called a police officer to come pick him up and ask him if he could take him home. And many, many other incidents as mayor as well. This guy is a piece of work. And now we have jury selection coming up for his next trial. And we're going to get into it here thanks to Atlanta News First. Let's see what they have to say. And I have to unmute this, obviously.
Mayor AJ Scott begins today. Scott was a state trooper in 2015 when his patrol car slammed into a car full of teens in Carroll County, the car going more than 90 miles per hour. 2 teenage girls died.
This guy's
Scott,
crazy.
at that time, was not headed to a call. He did not have his patrol lights on. Georgia State Patrol immediately fired Scott, but his case never stuck due to a lack of evidence at that time. Scott was elected the Buchanan mayor in 2019 after his first trial. He was reelected in 2023.
He was voted in and re-elected, y'all. That is absolutely crazy. Let me mute this. He was voted in the first time and then re-elected. It's clear these people aren't doing their research. Anyway, we've got another video I want to give you, and I want to go back and rewind to when this first went down and when the first mistrial went down. We're going to hear a little bit from AJ, what he had to say during the trial. I've been trying to find his actual testimony. I may have to go to the Carroll County Court and get that myself. So I'm going to try and work out that. In the meantime, you'll get to hear a little bit of what what AJ had to say while he was on the stand during this trial. Check this out.
It's a big weekend for the judge in the trial of Anthony Scott, a former Georgia State Trooper who slammed into a car with 4 teenagers inside, killing 2 of them. Prosecutors say Scott was going 90 miles an hour, no lights, no sirens. But during closing arguments, a video was shown, and now the defense is taking issue with this. Here's 11 Alive's Elwin Lopez.
It's a crucial weekend for both the prosecution and the defense.
I do feel that the court should have been notified and the defense should have been notified of the changed video.
Prosecution showed dash cam video the jury had already seen, but added graphics to show how fast the trooper was going. The defense then asked for a mistrial, saying it could unfairly sway the jury.
I am going to
somewhat fair.
Recess the trial until Monday. I'm going to study it over the weekend.
Just moments before that, the defendant, ex-trooper Anthony Scott, took the stand.
I thought they were probably going to stop in that left lane, so I went to the right, but they never did stop and kept coming, and I tried to go back to the left, but I couldn't.
The former Georgia State Trooper says he was on his way to get his radio from another officer when he struck a car with 4 teenagers inside.
So
2 of
sad,
them
man.
died, Kylie Lindsay and Isabella Chinchilla.
I noticed the car was filling up with smoke, so I thought it might be on fire. At that time, another officer was there. I told him to help me start getting them out of the car.
You did it, man.
So I got the driver out of the car and took him to the side of the road.
The defense argued in court the teenage driver Dylan Wall should not have turned left in front of Scott. Wall and passenger Ben Finken were seriously injured in the crash.
God, man, listen. He shouldn't have turned. That's going to be their defense. You can tell, and even if we go back and look, I need to find Amy sent me the footage from the dash cam. If you go back and look at how quickly he was approaching, going 90 miles an hour would be so easy to misjudge that time of night. Not to mention, if AJ had been going the speed limit, this wouldn't have been a problem. Look at this.
Showed
He comes up over a hill.
The jury had already seen,
Up over a hill,
but added
boom.
graphics to show how fast the trooper was going. The defense then asked for a mistrial, saying it could
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's going to be their defense. I don't want to hear that. So now
tonight, nearly a decade after two teens were killed in a crash in Carroll County, the driver charged in that deadly accident is heading back to trial. At the time, Anthony Scott was a Georgia State trooper. He was fired, and now Scott is the mayor of Buchanan in Haralson County. The families of the two teens killed, 17-year-old Kylie Lindsay and 16-year-old Bella Chinchilla, have been waiting nearly 10 years for justice in their children's deaths. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn live for us in the newsroom with what's different this time around, Cody.
Jennifer, in 2019, the judge declared a mistrial. The defense argued prosecutors withheld evidence that could have been favorable for the former trooper. It centers around where the two teenagers you just showed were sitting in the vehicle when Anthony Scott crashed into them. Testimony a new jury will hear. September 26, 2015, Trooper Anthony Scott's dash cam was recording as he approached Highway 27 and Holly Springs Road near Bremen, a 55-mile-per-hour zone. Troopers say he was going 90 miles per hour, slowing down to 65 before crashing into a vehicle which was turning left with 4 teenagers inside. Kylie Lindsay and her friend Isabella Chinchilla were killed.
And it's crazy. It's kind of crazy what AJ said was true. If he had just turned left, then this whole thing probably would have been avoided, and the two of the teens that died wouldn't have died. Why did he turn into the man?
Later, Scott was fired, and in 2017, he was indicted, charged with second-degree vehicular homicide, serious injury by vehicle, speeding, and reckless driving. 2 years later, Scott went on trial in 2019. At the time, he was a Buchanan councilman. He took the stand in his own defense.
I thought they were probably going to stop in that left lane, so I went to the right, but they never did stop and kept coming, and I tried to go back to the left, but I couldn't.
Scott said he was on his way to get his radio.
I don't know how he could even say that, because, hold on, I got to rewind this back again. Because you can barely even see the car, but for a second, he said, I thought they were going to stop in that left lane.
Dash cam was recording as he approached Highway 27 and Holly Springs Road near Bremen, a 55-mile-per-hour zone. Troopers say he was going 90 miles per hour, slowing down to 65 before crashing into.
They were already turning, so that's not that can't be true.
Going 90 miles per hour, slowing down to 65.
They were already turning. So what, he thought they were going to stop here?
Before crashing into a vehicle which was.
You didn't have enough time to think about that.
Was turning left with 4 teenagers inside. Kylie Lindsay and her friend Isabella Chinchilla were killed. A week later, Scott was fired, and in 2017, he was indicted, charged with second-degree vehicular homicide, serious injury by vehicle, speeding, and reckless driving. 2 years later, Scott went on trial in 2019. At the time, he was a Buchanan councilman. He took the stand in his own defense.
I thought they were probably going to stop in that left lane, so I went to the right, but they never did stop and kept coming, and I tried to go back to the left.
No, man.
Scott said he was on his way to get his radio from another trooper. No lights or sirens.
I noticed the car was filling up with smoke, so I thought it might be on fire. At that time, another officer was there. I told him to help me start getting them out of the car. So I got the driver out of the car and took him to the side of the road.
Jurors ended up deadlocked, split on the most serious charges of vehicular homicide and serious injury by vehicle. As they deliberated, the defense filed a motion for a mistrial. They argued prosecutors withheld information surrounding theories of where the teens killed were sitting in the vehicle and could have played a role in the crash, information the jury was never able to hear.
May not have made a difference. Trooper may have been going so fast, it would have never made a difference.
Exactly.
But it could have made a difference.
The judge agreed and declared a mistrial.
For mistrial is granted.
3 weeks later, Scott won his first term as mayor, an office he still holds in Buchanan. Jury selection is expected to get underway Monday in Carroll County.
All right.
So again, we've got a lot of trials starting this weekend. This is definitely one that we're going to stay updated on. I mean, when it comes to evidence, really the only things I would need to know seeing this as a juror is, did they make an illegal turn? Was he legally allowed to be going that fast? And that's pretty much it. Personally, that's all I need to find out. That's all I need to hear as far as evidence goes. Otherwise, if I'm going based off of what I've seen so far, y'all let me know what you think you would vote and what your verdict would be in this case. But we're going to get into it a little bit later. I want to see what y'all think in comments and in the chat.